I'm putting my extremely profoundly disabled 7-year-old into a residential facility so I can forget he exists. I'm not sorry. I can't tell anyone this, even my therapist. Lambaste me if you want, and maybe I even deserve it. I only ask what you would do if you were in my situation. Not what you think people should do. What you would really do. I'm a single mom of 2 boys. 12 and 7. My husband passed away 3 years ago in a work accident. A very large portion of me believe it was a suicide. I can't see him ever making the mistake he made that caused his death, and he had taken an action just before that which ensured his co-workers weren't in the room. I fully believe he killed himself because of our younger son, and no one will ever change my mind. We were told when I was pregnant that he would have Down syndrome. We could handle that. Even if it was severe. It turned out he has a chromosome deletion. His disorder is kind of rare, so I won't post which specific one, but suffice to say he'll never be anything more than he is now or has ever been. And what he is nothing. He doesn't appear to have any awareness and never has. His eyes are locked in one position. He doesn't respond to noise, touch, or pain. He is total care. He is capable of nothing. He is tube-fed and on oxygen. He is in diapers and will be forever. He makes no sounds, no attempts to communicate. He never even really cried as a baby. He has never made an attempt to interact with anyone or his environment. I'm not upset because I got a special needs/imperfect child. I feel the way I feel because this thing takes up 200% of my time and does nothing. I didn't get an imperfect child. I didn't get a child. I don't love him. He doesn't have any personality, there is nothing to love. And yet I'm responsible for him. In addition to his extreme delays, he's also medically fragile. Respiratory crises, fecal impactions, his autonomic nervous system doesn't function properly, issues with his G-tube, infections, pressure, sores no matter what we put him on or how we position him. Our older son has suffered because his non-existent brother has colored everything in his life. He's had medical care get delayed because there's only one of me, and Haas brother is more critical. We do have a visiting home nurse, but only 20 hours/week, and we aren't eligible for more. I was starting law school. I gave up my dreams and my plan for my children for this potato. My older son can't do a lot of things he wants to do because of the younger's need for care and appointments. The final straw was I heard a sound. I went into younger son's room to check, thinking he had forgotten how to breathe again, and saw older son hitting him and screaming, "You're why I don't have a mother. You're why I don't have a father. You're why I can't have friends over. You're why I can't be in sports. I didn't ask for you and I hope you die." Instead of being horrified, I watched. And younger son just did not react. No signs of pain or fear or upset. No reaction at all. He breathes, but he is not alive. He doesn't know who I am. He doesn't know who older son is. He has no sense of self, life experience, or awareness of his surroundings. He doesn't need to be in my home. He doesn't know or care where he is. He is genetically my son, but he is not family. My previously abused, brain-damaged cat who can't walk straight has more personality and is far more lovable than my child. In fact, I was looking forward to raising a Downs baby. Even one with severe impairments, for that reason. With disability can come gifts. This boy is not a gift. He is a genetic mistake. I probably should have miscarried and would have definitely terminated if I'd known he would be like this. And the flip side is, if he has awareness, he's miserable. And there is nothing I can do. If he has likes and dislikes, no one knows what they are. If he is in pain, he can't tell anyone. If he wants anything, he can't communicate. He's had every imaginable therapy, nothing has made a difference. And so he's leaving our home on the 29th. I feel excited and relieved and then guilty because I know we'll be happier with him gone. He's already taken my husband and my son's father. He was working so much out to pay for the cucumber's care. For the experimental therapies insurance wouldn't cover. Because this one was going to be the breakthrough. He was tired and defeated and disappointed. He sought counseling as well, but I don't think he could ever say the words "I don't want my son in my home" either. He's ruined my older son. I was so wrapped up on the younger I never realized how ignored and damaged he was. He lost his father too. I didn't just lose my husband. He is my priority now, and this malignant lump can be someone else's problem. At least they'll be paid a wage to care for him. At least they'll get a break from him when they punch out. I just want to never think of him again, and I'm not sorry. And for that, I'm sorry. Thanks for reading. I lied to a blind neighbor and told him I moved away. Many years ago, I was standing on one of my balconies when a taxi driver was obnoxiously blowing his horn out front and yelling for a blind man to walk toward my voice from his own townhouse. That direction was toward traffic. My roommate and I went down and helped him to the taxi and scolded the driver for being so rude. I made the mistake of giving the blind neighbor my phone number so that I could give him a ride in the future. Then the phone calls came. And never stopped. And when I gave him a ride, he would ask for various detours. I'm very calculated by nature. If he had told me beforehand where he wanted to go, it would be cool, but no. We'd be driving along and he'd throw in 2 to 3 extra places on each ride. And it came to be every day that he wanted rides. And he'd even call me to remind me to give him a ride, not that was ever late or backed out. Finally I had enough, so I gauged how blind he was. His response was that he was blind as a bat. A week or 2 after he said that, I told him I had a job interview in the next city. A week after that, I told him I got the job and was moving away in a month. After I moved away, it was strange as hell walking by him in silence as he stood on the sidewalk. This is probably the pettiest thing I have ever done, and I regret it to this day. When I was 15 years old, I got my first job and started to have some money of my own. I used my money to spoil myself and purchase nicer things like clothes, shoes, makeup and salon brand shampoo. My brother used to sneak into my bathroom and constantly steal my nice shampoo. He would use them and most of the time he would leave them open in the bathtub. This would result in the rest of the shampoo going down the drain and leave me with empty containers. This drove me completely insane and I hated him for taking my things. I tried to speak with my parents about this, but they told me that I should just learn to share. One day I went out and purchased hair removal cream. I mixed this into my shampoo bottle and left it in my bathroom. I gave him a verbal warning not to use my newly purchased bottle, but he stole it again anyway. Over the next few days his hair slowly started to fall out and small bald patches started to appear. Seeing what I had done, I immediately emptied the remaining shampoo. I felt terrible and I truly didn't think it would have as a dramatic effect as it did. My mother took him to the doctor to get checked out and they diagnosed him with alopecia. He then had to start using this special and terrible smelling shampoo to combat this. His hair did grow back, but I just recently found out that he is still using the shampoo in order to prevent another alopecia flare-up. It has been 15 years now and I have never told my brother that I caused him to lose his hair. Edit. Some people are asking why I let this go on for 15 years. I honestly had no idea that he was still using the shampoo and just assumed he stopped at some point or that the doctor had told him he didn't have alopecia. I just helped him move over the weekend and found a fresh bottle of the shampoo in his bathroom. I completely forgot about this until now. Our first daughter was raped at 14 and we raised the baby as our own child. Our first daughter committed suicide and we carried on raising the baby. My grandchild thinks we're her parents and I can't bring myself to tell her the truth even now. This is a lengthy confession. I'm sorry if you don't like reading long posts, you can skip to the end if you want. Our first daughter was raped when she was 14. It destroyed her childhood and flipped our lives upside down. You always assume if you bring your child up right and take care of them nothing bad will happen, but something bad just happened anyway and there was nothing we could do afterwards to make what happened right. The man who did it got sent to jail eventually, but our daughter was never the same again. Counseling never brought her smile back, nothing seemed to work. She seemed so cold and emotionally dead from there onward and we tried so hard to connect back with her but nobody could. She was an island and didn't want to talk to anyone about anything. We as parents blamed ourselves for this. We ended up pulling our daughter out of school to homeschool her because her attendance was very bad and she suffered night terrors which kept her awake some nights. It was probably a bad decision and overprotective parenting, but we wanted to protect her and felt a regular school wasn't a safe environment for her at the time. As if the situation could be any worse, we found out our daughter was pregnant with the rapist's child. We tried to suggest an abortion because of her age and the situation, but she didn't want to. Our daughter refused to abort the pregnancy, so we kept her out of school to give birth to the baby. We raised the child as our second daughter to give our first daughter the life she was robbed. We just wanted her to enjoy her life and told her we'd raise the baby for her as her sibling and she agreed to this. It was partly out of fear of what the neighborhood would think, and partly out of wanting our daughter to continue having a normal teenage life. It wasn't ideal, but things worked for a time and our daughter got to see her daughter whenever she wanted, which was better than giving the baby up to adoption. Things didn't last this way for long though, as our daughter's mental health started to deteriorate, when our first daughter started to become heavily suicidal. There was nothing we could do because every time we tried to get closer to her she'd push us away worse than before. She was hospitalized several times for suicide attempts until she succeeded in committing suicide. This destroyed us. At first we hated the baby and blamed it. We blamed it for the death of our daughter and were in denial it was our fault. Eventually though we realized we were to blame, not the child who was brought into the world by no fault of their own. We'd focused for so long on the fact it was half of the rapist's child, that we'd overlooked the fact it was also half of our daughter. It took a lot of time to come to this conclusion, but we'd always looked after the baby out of respect to our daughter. The thought of giving it up to adoption went through my mind several times, but I knew my daughter didn't want this, and so did my wife. We gave our daughter, the best life we could. We bought her anything she could ever want, took her to concerts and on holidays. We even sent her to a private school despite the extra expense, with hopes that she will become successful in life and live the life our daughter never got to live. She is home right now, and whenever she hugs me or my wife and says, "I love you mom/dad," it hurts like a dagger through our hearts. I always look towards my wife every time our daughter says it. She finds it as painful as I do, and I can tell by the look in her eyes. It's not that we don't love her, it's that her entire life is being lived believing a lie. We're actually her grandparents, and she has no idea of this. She's never asked if we're really her true parents, because obviously she has never had a reason to. Part of me though believes lying by omission is still lying though. We've never told her the truth about her sister being her mother. She knows her sister committed suicide, but she is too young to remember her. I feel as though we're protecting her from being damaged and hurt by keeping her oblivious to all of this. Maybe I'm just being selfish, maybe my wife is too. We just don't want to see her suffer. The thought of her not being strong enough to hear the truth scares me the most. I know I shouldn't compare her to my other daughter, but I would never forgive myself if she committed suicide too after learning the truth. I cannot lose both of them. I can't survive another loss like this. The whole situation is soul-crushing. The only person I can talk to is my wife. It feels like some massive thing nobody else can ever know. Not even our parents know the truth. When I was a kid, I would wipe my ass with towels that were hanging up. This is something I've never admitted to a single person. I'm not sure at what age I stopped doing this, but throughout most of my childhood I had this OCD compulsion where every time I would finish wiping I would stand up, walk over to the towel rack and give it one or two more thorough swipes. I couldn't not do it. I felt unclean if I didn't. It wasn't until I got a little older that I realized just how fucking fucked up it was. My older siblings spent their entire childhoods drying their faces off with my shitty remains. I've been mortified about it for years, but I'm actually in tears of laughter writing this out right now. Edit: nobody was supposed to see this.